to another episode of Sales Chatter.
Let's
Today,
go.
we are going to talk about how do we do logistics from the inside out.
To the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
What? Monday morning already? Yo,
Is it really?
everybody, trying to kick Monday off with like a super duper just energy, motivation, and everything, rock and roll. I was about to slam my hand down on the desk, and y'all would have saw me cry, which I'm not going to do on live TV, air, whatever we call this. Gentlemen, how are we this morning? For all y'all watching, listening, we've got Jeffrey Dickinson here today. We're going to dive into how do we sell from the inside out instead of the outside in. And I know, Jeffrey, you got some amazing strategies coming up for y'all that haven't registered for the 30-day plan. www.30daysalesplan.com. Both DJ, Jeffrey, and myself have 30-day plans in there. And Jeffrey's 30-day plan talks all about selling from the inside out. So, little plug right there. First thing,
Yes.
3 minutes in, little plug.
No, that's the way to get it started. You guys better jump on. Listen, there's some gold in there, I promise.
Oh, there's more than gold in there, brother. There's a prospecting. There's a map to find the gold. Like, what is that? Curse of Oak Island's got nothing on this gold, man. I mean, we're talking treasure ships that we've just pulled to the surface, bigger than the Titanic, man.
Just like our cold dog, guys.
So, Jeffrey, thanks for coming, brother. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Man, we're getting more and more excited about bringing people on because you know what? We can learn from everybody, and I know just the three of us from some of the conversations we've had. Like, I come out with serious gold from it, right?
Oh, man.
And really, when you started talking when we did the interview for the 30-day plan, the inside out strategy was something that I literally on my whiteboard desk, I like circled, I highlighted, I used a different color because it was so interesting how you phrase it, how you frame it, and how you initialize the concept. So what I'd like to do is like DJ and I are just going to give you the floor, man. I want you to go for it. And we're going to kind of jump in and interrupt you just like we do all the time. But
No.
For lack of a better, I know, for lack of a better term, like just let everybody have it, man. Share with us.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys bringing me on board, and hopefully I can help some of you folks out there based on my experience and where I came from. And what I found unique, guys, is that, on the sales side, and I'm new at it, I'll be honest, 35 years in the business on the logistics side, on the operations side. And I used to take on all those calls that came from you guys, the sales guys, that used to bother me day in and day out. And one of the things that stuck out to me was they didn't know what they were talking about. They were talking about selling freight and how they could take over some of my lanes and do a better job than what I was doing and what other service providers were doing, which was, to me, the absolute wrong way, wrong approach, a waste of my time. And now I'm trying to adapt what I hated into my sales technique in trying to find prospects and leads based on the experience from working from the inside out rather than the outside in.
So are you telling me that for 35 years you were a traffic manager or you were an operations at a
operations manager, worked in some complex operations. One of my old bosses, I'll plug him, Mike Q. I learned so much from this gentleman. He had faith in me. He brought me on board. I was more of a closer, not a client development manager, in which he was, and he was great at it. And I listened and I followed. And we're going back 10, 15 years ago when I was an account executive. And when I got my foot through the door, I was able to close a lot of deals based on the logistics background that I had and trying to find that hidden bank that maybe they were unaware of. You have to look for those hidden things. What's bothering them. What keeps them up at night, operationally? What are the carriers doing that are dislikes? How can you collaborate more? There's such a lack of collaboration in this industry, and you hear the magic word collaboration, which I've been using for a few decades now, because you can't be successful if you don't bring on the key stakeholders together as a mutual understanding and goals that you are setting as a team, as a partnership. It's not an individual one-way street by any means. You do that, you fail. You must bring everybody to the table and have a collaborative effort as to the goals and objectives that you as a shipper are trying to meet, as well as the carrier, because the carrier has just as many needs as a shipper does. Unfortunately, the shippers out there, and I've been there and I've seen it, always think about their bottom line and what's best for them. But if they just open up the channel of communication and ask those pertinent questions to the carriers, what can we do for you? I mean, is that a silly question? I mean, like I said, carriers have just as many needs as you do, whether it's unloading them quickly, loading them quickly, detention time, building that long-term business relationship, asking them how they can help, not just on the driver's side, but on the national rep side as well. You have to treat those carriers with the utmost respect, because those are the guys out there that are delivering your supplies on a daily basis, and yet they get right through the coals, left and right. And the shippers out there, the way that they're being treated, there's a preferred shipper status, right? And the way that you become a preferred shipper status is making friends with these carriers so they can help you out.
So I've got a couple of questions that are coming up. Number one is, I heard you swear at the beginning and say that salespeople don't know what they're talking about. And I think that's the first thing we need to address, DJ.
Yeah, and I wanted to go there because just in the first few minutes, guys, he gave you so much gold. First, he's trying to tell you what we've been trying to tell you. You got to think from their side. You don't know what they're dealing with. So what he just told you is, if you are going to come off and your first initial response is, hey, I could do it better than you're doing it, what if they're the ones doing it? Now you're just bashing them like he was taking it as you were literally telling him he doesn't know what he's doing as the customer side of things, and I could do it better. That you're never going to win. You're instantly in a battle. Now both fences are up and you're in a battle. There's no winning in that.
But I think this is threading the needle of all sales, sales, regardless of it being logistics or anything. I mean, you're calling somebody, in essence, that set up that department. Now, they might have walked in.
It might be the
baby.
That
person
they
could
might
have started
be so
a month
proud
ago.
Of what they
exactly.
100%. But it'd be like somebody calling you up and saying, "Hey, I know you're running your business, but I can run it better." It's immediately get your back up. So then, Jeffrey, with your shipper hat on, not with your RTX logistics hat on, right?
Yep.
But with your shipper hat on, what would be, because I know right when we bring this up, every salesperson out there is going to be, okay, well then how do I call you? 35 years of answering the phone on that side of the fence. And proverbial fence, not that it's any better or worse, but 35 years getting those phone calls. As a salesperson, then share with me, how do I get through to you? How do I get you to, in essence, and I know maybe the language I'm using is wrong, but to take my call and engage with you? Like, how do I get your attention, for lack of a better term, without pissing you off, to say that, hey, how you're doing it is shit and I can do it better?
Sure. First and foremost, learn my business. Learn the business. Do your homework. Just don't pick up the call and say, Hey, Mr. Smith, I am from ABC Logistics Company. I can help you out. We move a lot of freight for a lot. Don't do that. Don't do that at all. Tell me something about my industry. Tell me what you've done as a service provider that would add benefit, not just to me, but to the team. What are you bringing on? What is your value add that someone else doesn't have that's going to get my attention? Um, like I said, you just can't call up a prospect or a client and just expect them to say, "Hey, great, we'll start using it tomorrow morning." It's not going to work that way. You'll get the quickest hang up that you've ever had in your whole entire life. Give them respect their time. Okay, most of these guys in the big operations really don't have time to spend with you because they're getting blindsided day in and day out. The wonderful world of logistics. It changes daily, hour by minute. You never know what's going to happen the next minute or the next day, hour. So, be cognizant of that. Research, research, research. It's as simple as that. If you can talk to me my language about my business in my niche, you will open up more doors than close them.
So, Jeffrey, and I think I know the answer, but I'd love for you to share it. So if I have, you're in industrial construction, for example, is the niche, and you're the traffic manager, industrial construction, and you're making steel beams, for lack of a better term. And I guess I'm on this whole steel thing because of the infrastructure bill that just got passed. But
Me too.
yeah, I know. Well, we talked about that on the weekend. But so I call you up. Do I hit you with the number one superpower that I have, the number one thing, and if it doesn't align with what you're looking for, do I say goodbye?
No, absolutely not. If you did something like that, that would tell me right off the bat, hey guys, I'm not interested in your business, because if I was, I would give you a call like every couple of weeks, follow up. Send me some information, get my email, send me information about my industry. Give me some knowledge, something that maybe I don't have the time every day to look at because I'm so engulfed in what I do day in and day out. Send me an article, follow up, tell me something that's value added, that not just attach that to the email, but say, hey, listen, I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about this. I know this is most likely up your alley, but, my intentions is to, help you out and find some of the hidden bank opportunities that you're not aware of. I mean, it's as simple as that. You got to be perseverance on this, it's passion, it's drive, it's determination, that is what's going to drive you to success. But make sure you know my industry before you call me.
Well, and guys, so he touched on a few really good things, and I'm guessing that might be
Ryan, probably.
Is that Ryan? Probably.
That's our man, Ryan, right there.
That's our man. Good to see you there, Ryan. So Jeff touched on a few things. One we really touched on with our talk last week, Friday, with Andrew. Teamwork. It's about a team, guys. That he said it now a few times, coming with his shipper hat on. It's teamwork, and it has to be a team together. But the other thing he said that was really good was, what did you were just saying it. You're just saying it, and now I forgot because of the teamwork. But it was the follow up, the follow up, the FU. We had an episode on that. It's either you care and you're actually going to follow up, or you're telling the customer or client FU, fuck off, you don't care, and that's what they're getting by that. And so
DJ swore on a live broadcast. I'm
sorry.
Shame on you, DJ.
No one in this industry has ever heard that type of language.
No.
You cannot do that. We need. You know what I need to do? I need to get a beep. I need to get a beep sound that I can start. And it's gonna sound like a Gary V episode when it goes like in the beep 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 beep. Beep 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 beep. Beep beep beep. Sorry, go on.
No, you're and that's really what it was. I mean, he touched on a few of those. I mean, guys, he's giving you so much so much info from his experience, his 35 years of being on the other side of dealing with being blasted by calls like people from people like us, and he's telling you the
Exactly.
things of what to do.
Yeah, and don't
So
overpromise. Guys, don't overpromise and underdeliver. That's a career killer, man. Don't go beyond the means. Be willing to walk away. Don't try to be a hero and take on everything. You will fail miserably. Take on the stuff that you know that you have a really good chance, a really good opportunity, and don't try to eat the whole steak. Take little pieces off of it and enjoy it a little bit. And then as you get more involved in the operations, try to attain other opportunities within that environment. It's as simple as that.
Jeff, I'll give you a little nugget. Since you said you're new to the sales, you used an example of, they call it the elephant close. Best way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time. Same thing. Yeah, just little bits. Don't try to eat the elephant all at once. You're never going to.
No, you won't.
So I got to dissect this shit because I'm sorry, it's just about how my brain works, because
He's ready to jump out of his
I
seat.
hear all the gold, plus I also hear a little conflict. And the reason I say that is because we talk about all the time, we've all had the conversations, ideal customers, bring somebody in that you can truly connect with.
Mm-hmm.
And not every customer is a good customer. So Jeff, on from your perspective, a salesperson calls you up. What are the first, call it, 3 things you're looking for to determine if you actually want to continue a conversation with them? Because I think this is critical when we go into it. We're talking about going from the inside out. There's walls up because logistics managers, traffic managers, operation managers get so many calls in a day. If they were to let their wall down with everyone, it would be crazy.
They would waste their whole day. I mean, let's just be honest.
Well, beyond their day, they would never get anything.
Yeah, they never get anything done, and they have so much to do.
Right? So there's that flip, right? Like, we as salespeople, when we make a phone call, it's, I call it the hook, story, offer, right? So you hook them in, you tell them a story that's going to pique their interest, and you say, okay, do you have some time or whatever for us to have a conversation, or you kind of move to that next steps. What are some of the things that, for you as a logistics manager, like you as an operations manager, you that was in control, in essence, people calling, wanting to get into your wallet, what were some of the things you would listen for, or you would take as more of a, okay, I'm gonna continue this conversation, or I'll open up my calendar and give you the biggest investment ever, my time, and schedule a call?
Yeah, and Dan, I have to plug you a little bit on here because we've been talking quite a bit, and you had the 3 things, right? The 3 things that bring a value add in the first 10 seconds, right? And we're like 2 peas in a pod. You say it all the time, but I believe in that too. It's like, tell me some value add about, alignment. Tell me something that you do that I'm going to be so interested in that I'm going to say, you know what? We're thinking alike here. I like what you're saying to me. And I mean, there's so many different variables on what needs to be said, but I think it comes down to the salesperson and what they feel comfortable with, what their niche is, and their knowledge base. Don't say something that you're saying it for the hell of it because it just sounds good, but you can't really act on it, right?
What you do screams so loud I can't hear a word you say.
Right. Say something actionable. If you say it in the 10 or 15 seconds that you spend with that prospect up front, you better be able to back that up, because that traffic manager most likely is not going to want to talk to you again, because it's like that over promise, under deliver kind of proposition where, if you fail once, you're going to fail all the time. It's like building that trust. You want that trust, that partnership coming right out of the hole.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was, I think you're referring to the 3 things was image, credibility, and brand, right?
Absolutely.
we talk about all the time. And I've always said, you talk about the elephant, 8 Mile that shit right away.
Yes.
Like, listen, Mr. Prospect, you get 50 calls a day. I get it. I focus on image, credibility, and brand. And every single decision I make or every single suggestion I make will have the nucleus, the core of that suggestion is, how is this going to look when it succeeds to make you look even better, build a better image, better credibility, and bigger brand in your company?
Exactly.
And I personally think, especially in today's day and age, you hit a traffic manager with that, and they're going to be like, pardon? And be ready to say it again. And
they're going to listen.
Course,
they're going to listen. Then you're dropping that
but-
wall completely, and they're going to
Yeah.
listen. And that's what Jeff is saying. I mean, and that's
But
what
even bigger than that, though, DJ, just saying it can't just be words.
Yeah.
And I think this is the
you
biggest
gotta
thing,
follow up
because
with the plan. Yes, you have to have a plan.
you got to believe it, and you got to want to achieve that, right? And I think this is where, I mean, I could speak for our industry, but I'm sure every industry, you have people walk in and it's a job. It's just, I'm gonna stamp a card, for lack of a better word. I'm gonna trade my time for money.
Yeah.
Does that person trading their time for money truly care about Jeff and making a decision for Jeff that Jeff's going to look better? Or does all the decision revolve? And here's where it gets brass tacks for all you logistics salespeople out there. Or does the decision revolve around your commission statement? It's a big question. And I think so many people say, oh, no, it's about the customer. Really? So then are you willing to make zero profit on this because it's a headache because you screwed up? Like, are you going to put your hand up and say, hey, I take it right on my forehead because I'm the one that made that decision, I will deal with it? Or are we going to, and my friends, I've been on both sides of this fence where I've stood up and said, yes, I'm going to take it on my head because I made this decision. And I've also been the one to say, how in the hell can I maneuver my way out of this? How can I be slippery like a snake? And as horrible as it is to admit, and screw somebody over to make money. Like, I've been in both sides. I think we all have, until we stop and say, shit, this is my career. Do I want to go down as that person that only looked at a paycheck? And I'm sorry, I deal with tons of companies, and there are companies out there now that only focus on client goals, and they are friggin' killing it. And yes, they might lose every now and then, Absolutely. But the gains that they make supersede the losses immensely. Yes. And I think, you know what, have both of you been there where it's like, at the beginning of your career, or maybe sometime in your career, it's like, no, I got to do whatever I got to do to make money. And I would lie, cheat, and steal. And I'm very sorry to every customer. Yeah.
The beginning of any sales, yes, especially depending on the time that you're in, the situation you're in. But again, that leads to what Jeff talked about. Thinking the other side. So we have to remember. So we have most of us in our position, depending on, especially if you're working for a big brokerage house or something, you have bosses, you have managers, and what is it going to make? What do you need? You have goals, you have targets, but then you have to think the other side. So does that person you're talking to. So another good way, and what I like to tell people when I call, look, my job here and my reason for calling you is I'm here to make you look better to your boss. What's going to help you get a promotion? That's what I'm here for. If there's nothing that will help you, then maybe I'm not right for you. But if you think there's something, or you're getting bitched at from up top and you think that I can help you, give me a couple minutes. Let me see if I can. That's it.
Yeah, and above all, DJ, I'm not preaching to the choir by any means. Don't try to seal a deal on the first call. Don't try to
no.
Straight. It's not
no.
That first call should have nothing to do with selling freight.
Yep.
It's a seek, search out, and uncover mission. That's what you need to do. You need to find out about this customer and then be able to follow up on the conversation that you just had. Make sure you take plenty of notes so that you can reflect upon and bring them up as a matter of fact. Do you remember when we spoke about this? Well, I did some research on this, and I think this may of interest you, So give him some benefits as to, his time that's being spent with you as a service provider, and just try to feel what he's feeling. That's my biggest problem, because I hated getting calls from sales guys. I hated it because I knew what most of them were going to say. And so I have empathy, because I know what those guys go through day in and day out, and they get clobbered, It's just, it's the nature
I
of the
do. And
learn
you
with
know, I gotta share something with you guys because I think there's another side of it that we might not be addressing. And Jeff, I see you being on this side all the time and maybe even struggling with it. So I'll have conversations with people and I'm all about their success. Like everything I do is focused on their success, but sometimes to my detriment. And what I mean by that is I'll have a conversation with a sales rep and I know I have something that will serve them to the highest levels at the end result. But it's way too early for me to offer it. And
Yeah.
what got me thinking of this is when you said don't sell on the first call. So
Yeah.
I have like a 30-minute consultation. And a lot of the times at the end of the consultation, I don't sell my programs because the nucleus of that consultation is to help them. But there's other times where I go, like in my head, I'm going, this person needs this course. And it's not a matter of making money. It's this person needs the course. And I will actually say, like, listen, you need this course right now. And it totally turns them off. And it totally, and I think as a salesperson, when we start really serving customers at really high levels and we see some of the success and some of that joy that we as sales reps, when you're really in it for the customer goal attainment, it's like we can't wait to give it to another customer to help them achieve their goals. And
Yes,
and
exactly.
let's talk about that struggle for a minute, because I think all three of us do it because we have such high vision of how we can serve at the highest levels. And sometimes, like on that first phone call, you're listening to the prospect, you're like, I
You
know
need
me
this, you
anyways,
need
I'm
this,
like,
you need
I
this.
would be like, oh my God, they need this now. Like, I can't wait. And only because my perception of value is if you have something that can change somebody's life, and it's really what it is, as much as people might say it's just moving freight. No, it's changing somebody's life, because if they can go home less stressed and if they go home in a good mood as opposed to a bad mood, you've changed their entire dynamics. You've changed their life, their
Absolutely.
personal life, their business life. So we do change lives. The professionals do change lives. Like, how do you, because I know you struggle with it, Jeffrey, because you've been on that side. So it's something where you're like, this customer just doesn't see what I could do. Like, how do we get that across, right? So I'd like to talk about that for a minute, because I think that's going to be real dynamic for everybody watching and listening.
Oh, so when I talk to these people, again, it's like the empathy approach. What he's doing, he or she is doing during the day, in the morning. What am I going to say to this person that's going to, get them to say, wow, or hey, thanks. I like what you're hearing. I can't really spend some time with you right now. Do you mind if you give me a call? Whatever. That's gold. Like, yeah, I can do a follow-up call with you, but it's that empathy that I don't know that I've had for so many years, that it's like, I don't want to bother this guy. I know what he's doing, so I'm going to come and address it in a more empathetic way, so he knows that I understand what he does and that his time is so precious and I appreciate it so much, and thank him. And I'm getting better at it and better at it and better at it. But I believe that's, the best approach to doing something that, that they don't want to hear. I mean, because that's pretty much it. It's like, oh no, not another guy. You can just feel that, or I don't have that time. Make it worthwhile, like I always write down notes and everything before I even call up. What do I want to hit on? What's the goal and objective of this phone call? What do I want to take away from this? I'm not here to sell him anything or her right off the bat. I just want to make them aware and that I'm available. Let's have another conversation.
That's I think, Dan, you maybe talked about this, and that my first call is I'm never trying to sell freight ever. I'm literally, my first call is to try to make a connection, find out who the decision maker is, and try to schedule a follow-up call. So I'm just trying to give them value and trying to get that time where now they're prepared for a long conversation. And so
Correct.
that's the sale there. There should never be a commission sale. There should never be a freight sale. It's just your sale in that moment is just to get that follow-up call, make a little connection, try to find some sort of connection there, and then let them go.
You
But
know,
really,
so I think
really sell the follow-up.
everybody on the initial call has a different, like
Yeah, yeah,
Jeffrey said, I'm looking to establish this core functionality. Like,
yeah.
can I be of assistance? You're looking for that. My first call is only about qualifying, because
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have zero interest in using anyone's time. I don't care if they have 100 loads a week. If
Right.
we are not going to get along, and in 6 weeks from now we're going to separate ways, it's not worth you or I getting involved. Because
Exactly.
I know, and Jeff, please share it with us. When you bring a supplier on as a manufacturer, as a
Oh,
shipper,
yes, yeah,
it's actually more work in the beginning for less work in the end. Like, if the promise is taking away from your schedule, it's actually more work. It's like your operations team. You ask anyone in operations, hey, when you bring in somebody to train them, is it more or less work? And they're all going to say it's more work.
yeah.
That
Always.
then creates less work in the end, because once they're up to speed, these are why operational people say bring people in 3 months before you get busy, because
Yep.
if you don't, then you're going to be swamped. Steve, a buddy of mine, Steve, just sent text. Steve, I had carpal tunnel surgery last week, brother. That's what's wrong with my hand. But you know, it's that you gear up for less. So I think as a salesperson as well, I don't think very many put into consideration that when they decide to bring me on board, it's actually going to be more work for them, because then it's accounting. And what if your invoices don't go through to accounting on time? Then all of a sudden you get back the paperwork, and now you have to go do something else, Jeff, and it's like, holy crap, I brought this person in to save me
Yeah.
time. Now they're
No,
costing
nobody
me
is
time.
there.
And,
Yeah.
I used to say to traffic managers all the time, what does it cost you to bring somebody on? And they would say,
Oh
what do
yeah.
you mean? And I said, well, there's time, energy, effort,
Yep.
money. What does it cost you? $1,000. Okay, so I'm going to take 15% off every load until that $1,000 is paid. And again, to a traffic manager, might be like, okay, but I still have to take the time. Okay, but you know what? You're going to put your money where your mouth is. For me, that was like the key to everything. Is when I come on board, or when you bring me on board, like, I shouldn't cost you anything. But if I know your time, energy, and effort, then I could say, okay, Jeff, why don't you connect me with the shipper? I'll call them. Here's the 15 questions I'm going to ask them, so you don't have to answer them, and I'll take time out of your day. You know what I mean? And you as the sales rep should be the one willing to run around to every corner and gather the information. Even better,
Absolutely.
bring your
Absolutely.
operations team in to help you gather that information. Huddle everybody around and say, we're all going to be part of this sell. Now
Absolutely.
you're intent-based selling, as
Yes.
opposed to just selling because you want another zero in your commission check. And I know, I'm sorry, I keep bringing it back to that, but unfortunately, that's the mindset for a lot of people is where's
Yeah.
my commission in this?
Where's my money? Yeah.
Show me the money.
Where's my money?
And don't get me wrong, it's needed. It's just as it's
Oh, sure.
like
Listen,
Zig
you help
Ziglar
enough
said,
people. You help enough people to come. You help enough people to come. That's
yeah,
just it. You help enough
yeah.
people reach their goals, attain their goals, do what their job, make their job easier. It's going to come. That's,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And back on Friday, we were talking to Andrew, the truck driver, right? And he was right in line with what we were saying. And I shared with DJ my profile facility, which is in depth. It probably has 50 questions on that. The enabler, as I would call it. It's something that a customer is like, wow, I never really thought of all these questions. And the next thing you know, they're filling out this form, and now you're collaborating with the carrier, you're collaborating with the
yes, they
dispatcher.
might. Yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, now it's like you're fine tuning everything, right? You're taking a lot of things off of the shipper's plate. You're narrowing it down. You're cost cutting his SG&A cost. All the labor in the back room, what they do you're now taking that on your shoulders, and now you're creating a value add, right? the driver knows who to speak with, the hours of operation, how long it just goes on and on and on. And those carriers appreciate it because, look, with the detention times and the capacity issues and all of that, we got to move these freight carriers. So now you're building a long-term business relation with the carrier side as well. That's why I said it's so important that you bring the carrier in with the customer as well as the service provider and have that win-win-win attitude. It's not, like I said in the beginning, a one-way street. It's a two-way street, and everybody has to be traveling at the same speed. New carrier coming on board, ramp up, launching, new product lines. What are you doing in 2022? Discuss all those things, bring it up, bring everybody, the key stakeholders together, so it's mutually beneficial for all involved. That's the goal and objective here.
Now, do you also, it's funny, I ask a lot of questions where I know the answers just because I know you. I think it's important that everyone hears it. You ask these questions to a shipper all the time. Do you explain to the shipper that a lot of the times when we don't have the information, we can actually get a preferred rate if you have some of these things, or if you can promise me some of these things? Yeah. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah, these are all cost-cutting incentives. When you think about that, right? When carriers are hung up, or you're paying these high detention rates, or their staging area at the warehouse, right, before they load up. What do they do? How do they do that? I have a pretty good background in there where I streamlined a lot of processes, and even, I'll throw it out there. I even wrote a work instruction process for one of the best carriers out there, Old Dominion, way back in the time where they had problems with claims. I worked with the national rep. I narrowed it down. We found out the connecting terminal and all the problems. The customer was grateful. I saved him thousands and thousands of dollars, and Old Dominion and Old Dominion changed their processes as well. So I was able to help, multiple people out, solve a problem, and then basically get in the buy-in. This guy knows what he's talking about. I mean, I'm not trying to put myself there on a pedestal, but if everybody went about it in the same type of way and trying to uncover these issues that are affecting their operation and costing them a tremendous amount of money when you do a time analysis, it's incredible. But it doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't. If you're just willing to take that time and find out, like you said, it's not all about the money in the beginning. It's uncovering issues that you now have the opportunity to bring that value add to correct them. That's what it's all about. And then, like DJ said, that money will come later on. Don't worry about that up front. Just do your job and uncover the things that are most important to your prospect or your client that's currently on board. Ask them if you can help them with anything else. What other problems are they having? Keep digging.
I also think that as a sales rep, for all of you out there that don't necessarily have that core nucleus, when you make that core nucleus, okay, every choice or every suggestion I make is going to be focused on this one outcome. I think it gives us as sales reps a new lease on creativity. I think it gives us as sales reps a firm vision. It's like if you just go to the gym to go to the gym, or you go to the gym for a specific goal. Okay, I want to be able to run a marathon next year. You do things differently. There's a different intention with everything you do.
Yeah, you're not hitting the bench and hitting the weights.
Right? No, it's the intention, right? So if you go into a phone call with an intention, if you go into setting up an order or booking a load or even organizing the fundamentals of a load or a project with an intention, Steve was just talking. Steve and I did a lot of projects together for some pretty serious companies. And one of the questions we would ask is, okay, what's the intention of this project? Like, what has happened in other projects that is a challenge. And I remember when we were doing a huge solar panel farm, and they said, like, it's drivers not being on time, like it so screws us up. So now we know the intention. Okay, the biggest issue for that customer is drivers not being on time. So how do you think that changed the communication with our suppliers, the organization of the entire project, the follow-up, the tracking and tracing, the X, Y, and Z? Because we had that intention as the nucleus of what we needed to solve. If you sit down to write a blog post and you have no idea what you're writing it on, you have no intention. If you sit down to have this conversation like three of us had, even
Yep.
before this conversation, we got on for 45 minutes to an hour and we said, this is what we want to talk about. These are some of the points. We shared some stories that made these points hit home with these points, that brought these points forward. This entire conversation, the nucleus of it was inside out. If we don't
Absolutely.
have a strategy, we don't win. And winning is just simply having the conversation, having people engaged for 40, almost 41 minutes now. Like that to me is the essence of every conversation. There's a reason why, and we talked about this on Friday. There's a reason why people like Oprah Winfrey walk into a meeting, right? She could be anywhere she wants at any time of the day, anywhere in the world. And she walks into a meeting. Her first question is, what's the intention of this meeting? Like, what is the outcome of this meeting?
Exactly.
Right? We've shared story after story after story about not having outcome and that things go awry. Like, if we as sales reps have an outcome of every interaction, just think of what we can get done, guys. Like, think of that for a second. I mean,
Then it's a win-win-win, like Jeff said. Win-win-win. It's not just us winning; it's everybody winning. Everybody in that equation is winning. Yeah,
everybody. Create the plan, work the plan, act on that plan. That's one thing I like. Doing my job. I don't get pulled off to these incredible long meetings that last all day and nothing's accomplished. You sit there and all they do is just talk. And the end result was, what did we accomplish?
Well, it's because they talked about the same three things 5 different ways and 5 different times in the meeting. It could have been done in 20 minutes. See you later.
I've been a part of a lot of those meetings.
Right? I think we all have. And it's just like, so that just rings in my head all the time. This client, this prospect has a schedule. I may not know what it is, but I appreciate it. And what do I want to accomplish from this call, and then leave, and then hopefully get a call back time. That's it. Write it down. Like I said, do your homework. Find out.
Jeff, what do you think about sharing that intention with your prospect? Like you make a phone call and your prospect picks up and you say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, my intention for this call is A, B, C, and D. And then you jump in.
Absolutely.
Like,
what do you
think about that strategy?
You want to qualify them, right? You want to make sure if they're on the same page, on the same track that you're traveling at, and if things aren't mutually in line as far as the thought process, maybe this isn't the client for you, because you're zoned in on what you want to accomplish and how this may have worked at another client. It's just like being I said it before, like a psychologist. You have to be a master of different personalities, because one client doesn't operate the same as another client. So you have to get them to open up and to find out, and then ask those 3 things. And it may be different for each salesman out. And it's not my golden rule, because everybody else has their own, but try to uncover that. And does it meet your needs? And do they meet your needs? That's the whole thing. Don't waste all your time. Get to the point, understand what you're trying to accomplish, what they are trying to accomplish. If it works, great. If it doesn't, walk away. That's the only thing I can say.
I spoke to a gentleman who we're going to be bringing on to this show in the coming weeks, but he said something very interesting to me. He says, it's not only qualifying in, it's qualifying out. So you try and qualify a customer into your sales cycle, but how fast do you qualify them out? And I went, whoa. He says, exactly. Because like we just think because this person has freight that, oh my God, I want the customer. And it's like, whoa, hold up. He goes like, where do those red flags start coming up? He goes, for most people, those red flags come up during problems. He goes,
Yep.
would you not, like, he goes, and it's funny because so much of this gets put back to dating, right? You meet somebody. It's like a lot of the times and so I'll frame it like this: the looks over is the freight portion, the volume of freight. So we have all these red flags, and we're like, yeah, but the looks,
Yeah,
I'll
but
get over those red
they're so
flags.
pretty.
But in the end, it's those red flags that compound and create the explosion when things go bad. And so it's like, I mean, you guys understand where I'm going with this, right? And I'm
Oh,
losing
yeah.
my train of thought, and I apologize,
No,
but it's
no,
like,
No,
we,
you're
we
right on.
yeah, we put so much attention on business as opposed to lifestyle. Like for me, I looked at it, and I mean, it took me 23 years in the industry to go, oh my God. It took me getting pneumonia, being sick, getting shingles, having stress beyond all belief, like literally body parts shutting down because of the stress in my life for me to go, hold on here. Like, I get it. I'm a high school dropout and I fell into this business, and it's great business. And, you know, still inside of my head, I think I can't do anything else, right? Like, it's that I'm still overcoming that personally. But I sit there and I say, really? Like, I spent more time planning a vacation than I did my life. Why am I not planning my
Oh my!
life and the overall vitality? How do you want to live? What kind of business do you want to have?
You got to replay that. I'm just gonna say it again. Yes, quit planning so much, spending so much time planning vacation and planning your life. I mean, Jesus, if more people just listen to that, it would change everything.
Hey, listen. I mean, if you're in the logistics industry and this is the career that you want to have, I don't think that I'm going out on the edge here, but it's literally a 24/7, 365 job. And I say this because even when you shut down your computer at the end of the day, you turn off your phones, you're constantly thinking, you're adjusting, you're planning for
I'm
the
glad you
next day.
clarified that.
And if you're not going about it the right way. I mean,
but Jeff, to your point though, I will say this: it's not just in this industry. I mean, if you're not doing that in whatever your career choice is, then that might be your first signal saying, hey, you might want to find something else, because that's just the drive in you. That's the passion in you, that even when that clock, whatever.
Absolutely.
And again, we don't have a clock.
There is no clock. Exactly.
Yeah, we're not talking. It's all day. But again,
but again, I think, guys, I think it's imperative that we clarify this, right? Because, like, it's not 24/7, 365 of problems or work. It's just consistently saying, okay, if I've got an hour here, maybe I'm going to read a book to better my career. Maybe I'm like growing personal and professional. And I think that's where passion comes in for the industry, passion to help people, passion to be the best you could be. If this is your career, you're right. It's 24/7, 365. Because I believe if we're not growing, we're staying stagnant, which actually means we're falling behind because the world's moving at such a fast pace. And like, what can you do today to better yourself? Like, take off hours, because here's the thing: no company you work for is going to better you. You are going to better yourself. You are responsible for that. That is your responsibility. There's very few companies that even have onboarding programs that better you. Very few. Like 1% of the logistics companies out there actually have these programs. So what are you doing to better yourself to make your career the best, most vitality-driven career ever? Or does it drain you? And guys, I've been there. Like, I've been driving to work at night going, what the hell am I doing? Like, really? This is what I'm doing? Sell my house, take the profit, go work at McDonald's 3 days a week, and like, screw everything. Like, I've fallen into that. I hate this career just because there was no vitality. It was all. But then again, you go back and you look at that, and I went back and looked at it, and that's what changed everything for me, because I realized every customer I had, besides 3 of them, were not even close to the customers I ever wanted to deal with. But why was I dealing with them? Because they made me money.
Exactly. And Dan, listen, I got to put a lot of emphasis on this. In the business in which we work, don't take things personally.
Yeah.
Don't.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. Yeah.
Business period. Business period. Don't take things personal. Business is business.
Listen, That's one of the reasons I still have hair on my head.
Hey,
I'm
Mine
telling
is
you.
genetics, just so
I,
you know. Mine
hey,
is
mine is
genetics. That's
genetics
why I
too,
don't
I
have
okay?
it.
know
Please.
it's a joke. I know it's a joke. But there was one point that I had high blood pressure because I took
Oh,
everything directly to heart because I love what I do. I love my
yeah.
clients. I love helping them out, and it just drove me to a point, which was a
Sure.
bad point. It was a bad point, and I knew it was in a bad place, and I had to dig myself out. And I mean, saying this, I mean, I'm honest, and my integrity is first and foremost. I started not giving a shit, but in a good way. In a good way. I had to keep moving forward, but then again, I had to keep myself in line and saying, I did everything right or attempted to do it. I can't change them, and they're not going to change me. I mean,
Jeff, I think
And that's
your
and that's where you're
core,
figuring and that's where you're figuring
the
out that you're not aligning. It's maybe just not the right, and you're trying to
but
force
so
something.
DJ, think of it like this for a second. Jeff's core was I care, right?
Yeah.
And when we care and things go wrong or things happen, we tend to take it personally
Yes.
because
that
we put so much love, energy,
Yeah. So much
caring
passion.
into the
Yeah.
decisions. There's so much passion that it's
absolutely.
like it's and Jeff, I'm so glad you brought that up because
Yeah.
that is probably the hardest thing ever to deal with. Like when you go into sales, you have to put on a bulletproof vest, and anyone who says
Real
crap, it
thick
just has to
skin.
bounce off you. But when you have passion for what you do, and when you truly care about the customer results, and things go wrong and things are said, that
Oh,
hurts.
it's gonna
That
hurt. It's going.
scars, man.
Yeah, that's going to hurt. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad we can end with that because that is key. And you know what?
It's
Like,
key.
again, share with people how you overcome that because I think that is most people's biggest crutch is I really care and this customer just treated me like garbage and I really care.
Yeah.
Again, share again how you come over that, Jeff, and how you decided to stop caring in a good way.
Yes.
Because the thing is that again, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just that the customer prospect could have had a bad day, and they just rub your shoulder the wrong way, and you're like, "What did I do?" I mean, don't take it that way. Even with when you're working in corporate, and you have your successes, you have your failures, and everything. You could put so much emphasis on your failures and not enough on your successes. Reverse it. Reverse that and keep that mindset on all the good things that you have done and the successes and the goals and objectives that you have met, and leave the negativity behind. That is not going to help you move forward. It's detrimental to your career. It's detrimental to your family's life, your personal life, everything in which you live and do daily. Remove that negativity. Always think positive on everything that you do, and that will bring you into the next call, the next conversation. Again, whether it's with your friends or your businesses or whatever you're dealing with, attack it with positivity, and you will reap rewards of gold and success. And you just need to do that. I'm just telling you as a friend, a mentor, or whatever you want to call me. I cannot put enough emphasis on that, guys. It's very destructive if you go the other way. It's so destructive.
Oh, and
I think that's a mic drop, DJ.
I think it is, but I'll tell you, he's touching on something that it's like a passion-filled drive for me. So, to Jeff's point, yes, and thank you for saying that. And you are definitely a mentor and a friend to me. But with what you're saying, it's that whole paradigm shift of is the glass half full, half empty. You always got to see it half full. Always find the silver lining, guys. No matter the worst things that ever happen, you can't hold on to it. Find the silver lining. There always is something. I promise you. Losing your biggest customer, having to start your book all over, dealing with the non-compete and having you have a bunch of customers, now you lose them. Whatever it is, it happens for a reason. And
You know,
always
Ryan said
find a
something to me
reason.
one day
Silver lining.
where I said, you know, what keeps you up at night? And he said, you know, Dan, I've learned that every day I do my best. I do my best in selling. I do my best in serving my customers. I do the best in serving my team, serving my wife, serving my family. And I can put my head down at night, regardless of what happens during the day. And the question I always ask is, did I do my best today? And, you know, I look at what Jeff said, and Jeff, you know, part of me says the first question I would ask myself when I feel like that is, did I do my best? Like, did I make decisions
Exactly.
that I hope to help my customer? And if the answer is yes, you know, at the beginning of this, we said we learn from everyone. You know, Ryan's been a student of mine for almost 2 years. And the stuff I've learned from him is astronomical. And the stuff I learned from you gentlemen today is astronomical. And so all I could say is, you know, when you have that feeling, ask yourself the question, did I do my best? And if the answer is no,
Don't
then the
beat yourself
next
up.
time,
No, don't beat
but
yourself
now
up.
you know.
Exactly.
Now
DJ.
you say
Learn.
the next time
Learn. Yeah.
I'm going to do my best. And when you do your best, everything you have to, I think at that point when you do your best during the day, and listen, I think we all screw around, we all, you know, skim a half hour here or half hour there, you know, I'm gonna go do this or screw around with
You
this for a
need
half
that
hour,
for your sanity.
but yeah, exactly, but I mean, doing your best at the end of the day, you can put your head on your pillow, and regardless of what happens, like, you say, yeah, I did my best. You know what, tomorrow I'm going to do even better, but today I did my best.
Right.
I think that's a big message.
Yeah. And one thing, Dan, okay, if you have that negativity in you and now you're calling customers, guess what's going to be like? Guess what's going to happen? I mean, seriously, you have a
It's
bad
coming
phone
through
call
louder
before
than
your
what
next-
you're saying.
Right, you have a bad phone call before your next prospect call, or you're doing a client follow-up. Man, you're going to come across real shitty. I'm telling you right now. I don't care who you are or whatever. You need to walk away. Go out, get some air, readjust your attitude, you know.
Well, you know, Jeff, this is the whole reason I've always said you either move forward or you learn on sales calls, because sales calls can destroy us in 2 seconds flat. So the way I framed it was, I'm not going to let the call that just happened kill the call ahead. So what I used to do is I used to say, okay, if you qualify, you either move forward or you learn. Okay, I learned that person's not my client. Right? Again, I did my best on that. I operated with intention. That person and I don't get along. Let's move to the next one, because it's that no 10 times in a row that gets our spirit down. And it's our spirit. When our spirit's crushed,
well, think about it.
Things go bad real quick.
A no in the end is a rejection. And I mean, in any sales, I mean, in life, I mean, but especially sales, we're dealing with rejection more than anything. And so,
right. Set your day, and I tell my friends this, and they'll attest to it. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you should do, smile. Man, you woke up. It's going to be a good day.
Yeah,
you know,
day.
Set the stage. Set that stage. Don't wake up with a frown and go think of yesterday. Yesterday's gone, my friends. Start looking forward to today and what tomorrow can bring you if you attack it the right way. You know. I can't say.
Yeah, and
all right, we are way over our time limit, gentlemen.
I do have a good quote for today to end us, but Jeff, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Love to do it again.
It was
brother,
so much
awesome. We will definitely do it again, brother.
Oh yeah.
And even if we don't do it here, you're gonna be on the comments anyways, brother. So we'll be doing it over the comments anyways.
Yeah.
It's all good. What's your quote there, DJ? Let's sign it off.
My good one from my man Zig Ziglar. If you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you.
Bam.